All right, so we have some other more recent events to cover. One of them is a little bit of a drama event, but Destiny, who
Sure.
everybody knows, he recently got into a little bit of a spat with Ludwig, who was a Super Smash Brothers player and a streamer as well. Uh, so it's a whole developing story. Basically, they have a really long history with each other. Ludwig has made a lot of pot shots at Destiny over the years. Like he implied that he was ugly and stuff like this. Like not critiques of like his opinions or like saying he
Mm-hmm.
got something wrong, but just like cheap shots, you know.
Mm.
Um, Recently, Destiny, in response to one of these critiques, decided to tweet out a picture of Ludwig's girlfriend, who's a public figure, also a streamer,
Sure.
QTCinderella. He tweeted out a picture of her crying,
Right.
and some people said that Destiny went too far. What do you think of
Mm.
all this situation?
What is the nature of the picture of her crying? Is it
It's
like
just her crying on live stream. That's basically it, as far as I can
I,
tell.
I, I don't I do not understand how that is, and I am not like
Well, because
one who's
she's
gonna.
not. QT Cinderella is her own person, right? So she does her
Sure.
own. She like dragging her into this when she just because she's dating Ludwig. People say that that's not quite fair to her.
Yeah, I'll say like maybe that's not fair to her, but also when you are with somebody and you are in the public sphere, there is some grouping, and I think that that's also something that you have to think about when you're in relationships that are public. And I have been in more than one public relationship with actual real people, thankfully. But sorry, I don't mean to crack myself up, but sometimes I'm an idiot too. But those people exist as part of it. There's a relationship, a connection. And I do think that there is a line where it's not okay to involve another, a person who you have a public relationship with. I think that if you really start getting into low blows, but I don't understand how a screenshot from a stream is that. I feel like that's a thing that person put out into the world, you know?
Okay. Now there's also the story. There's more elements. There's some new stuff that dropped today, I believe, but I haven't seen that yet. But
Sure.
Ludwig also made up a story. It seems. It seems so. Ludwig said that Destiny was at a party with him, and that Ludwig offered Destiny cheese balls, and that Destiny refused his generous offer of snacks at the party. But strangely, someone dug up an old video from this party, and
It-
it looks like Ludwig misrepresented events because Destiny throws the cheese ball and then he catches it in his mouth, kind of like a party gag, you
so he
know?
clearly he clearly has the cheese balls. He's
Yeah.
accepted the cheese balls.
So
Wow, that is I'm sorry. I got to take a second on that. That's a pretty odd story to make up and tell to the public. Like what is the significance of the cheese ball?
I don't know other than I guess to make him look like he's kind of a antisocial person, which like I don't even if he is, which he probably I mean Destiny I know Destiny's like a very social person, right? It's not in his own way.
I've been around
Yeah,
Destiny before. He does not like me, and he even talked to me when I was around him. So I wouldn't.
yeah.
He dislikes me actually pretty significantly, but he would still talk to me. So I don't. It's I don't know. I'm not a Destiny defender or anything. I will absolutely defend him if he's doing something that I think is fine. But this is just sounding like a weird like the
Well,
cheese
it
balls.
looks like the real motive that Ludwig has. And again, I can't speak to Ludwig. I sent him and Destiny both emails, Jiju as well, to try and get their perspectives on the story.
Sure,
Neither Ludwig nor Destiny have replied to the email. So,
right. Well, I don't
but
know. It just this comes off to me as like really like odd interpersonal bickering because I don't I can't I'm sorry the cheese balls thing has thrown me for a loop.
well, it's a
Again,
weird thing to seemingly lie about.
yeah, it's a
The
like
only
I'm
defense I can think of for Ludwig is like if there were various points at the party where he offered them at various points, and maybe at one point Destiny
Sure.
said no, and then later on someone
Yeah,
else
but
had the cheese balls, and they were like, "Hey Destiny, do you want these?" And he's like, "You know what? Fuck it, I'll have one." Like that's the only defense I could think of for Ludwig, but I think he just basically lied about it, probably.
yeah, but that brings us into a territory where we're litigating like whether or not somebody accepted cheese balls.
Well, it seems
It's
like the
such a
real reason is because Ludwig is a fan of Hasan, and he even says, Ludwig
sure.
said publicly
Oh,
that he thinks
okay.
that he said that he used to think that everyone who disliked Hasan was a Destiny fan, which is like a really weird comment to make, given that Hasan's like a
Hmm.
major public figure with controversial opinions. Um,
Well,
but
I don't like Hassan,
I don't like Hasan. I am a Destiny fan, though, I
and
guess.
I'm not a Destiny fan. Again, I am kind of a I am like whenever I've interacted with him, it's always been in conflict. But at the same time, like I am also very willing to defend when he says something that I think is either not a problem and people are making it into a problem, or something that I think that he says it's intelligent. Like the documentary I'm currently working on is about the left-right dichotomy on things, and I'm actually using his appearance on the Jordan Peterson podcast for a lot of he's very close to making the point that I am trying to make in that area of the documentary, and I give him props for it, honestly.
So
So
I just want to
so
say,
I would say that me disliking Hasan I don't think stems from any opinion on Destiny, though. Like Hasan is his own animal, and a lot he's he sucks. I would say that like
he hates
I think
GamerGate, by the way. He doesn't know anything about GamerGate. He's done
he
zero
doesn't know
research on the
anything
topic,
about
but he
anything.
that's probably true. Or I don't want to say like maybe like he's like maybe streaming he knows a lot about, right? But
Yes. No, I would give you that. Yes.
but yeah, he actually talks about GamerGate on his show all the time, and he's like, but he only uses it as an insult. He's like, those fucking GamerGate misogynists,
Well,
fraud. He like loses
exactly.
his mind, but he never like
Well,
does a deep dive into it or anything.
that's the team sports speaking. That's like team sports to the nth removed power. I don't know how to put it. But it's generations of this team is good, this team is bad, and now like there's no concrete reasons that this generation of people who are taking those two sides are even talking about, like you said. And this is exactly the problem I was talking about, because Hassan's way of addressing Gamergate, I'm not necessarily completely familiar with, but the way you're describing it to me sounds exactly like the thing that I was complaining about when I was talking about team sports. It's
Well,
a
it's a virtue
reduction.
signal. It's basically right.
Yes,
So in his head, the
absolutely.
only thing he knows is GamerGate equal bad, and so therefore it's fair game to lie, I guess, and just make
It's
stuff
it's
up.
it's yeah, it is, as opposed to being a word with a definition that means something and has specific implications. It is just an insult. It is just a bad thing. And that to
Well,
me,
go ahead. Sorry.
go ahead.
Well, is
No, you
that
go
what
ahead.
is happening with Ludwig basically? That Destiny, he perceives at least that Destiny is sort of the bad guy, and so in order to be in Hassan's good graces, he feels like he has to basically throw him under the bus a little bit with the cheeseball story and all this stuff.
To me, I will say that it does sound like it's very possible, because in a like a normal in any situation where you are observing normal social dynamics, this cheeseball thing would not even be something you talk about. At least that's my perception of it. Um, I mean, granted, I certainly don't have all the information, but I can't imagine doing like a deep dive for information on a cheese ball incident, whether or not somebody accepted cheese balls from another person.
Well, we talked
Like
about
it,
sorry.
no, it's fine.
We talked about plagiarism earlier. I just want to say that some of the research I did for this came from Suspicious Bid 9583 on Reddit, and then
Right.
also I saw some of Food Shop's coverage of the situation too.
Sure. And see, I'm having I'm I feel like I'm connecting the absurdity of the cheese balls conversation with what you've said about how how it relates here, because again, I just that sounds like something that under no normal circumstance would be a legitimate criticism. And so again, whether it's Hasan versus Destiny, or he's literally trying to get in with the good graces of Hasan, it sounds like attempting to make ammunition out of something that you perceive as usable, as opposed to having a legitimate grievance.
Well, Ludwig did publicly respond. He says that because after people found out that he misrepresented the cheeseball story, after that he said, "Well, it doesn't really hurt his reputation that much," or something along those lines. I believe he said publicly was his
Yeah,
defense.
I mean, you know, I don't think like it definitely doesn't make me think less of Destiny. I'll say that. Like, no, it doesn't hurt. If anything, it hurts Ludwig's reputation because it's such a dumb thing to care about.
Well, so let's talk about you and Destiny a little bit since you two have a history.
Hmm.
So you made a video of you in a hoodie. I couldn't find this online, but I found references to it where you pretended to be Destiny as a parody. You were parodying Destiny, right?
Yeah, I was parodying Destiny. I was using. There was a video I made about democracy because Destiny had actually talked about democracy not necessarily being a good thing, and I felt like that aligned him with actually a fairly large range of different viewpoints that all kind of trend against democracy. And some of those are like Ben Shapiro, and some of those are, I don't remember other
Well,
ones.
I think Destiny
But
does obviously believe in liberal democracy.
I think so, yes. I agree. I think that he was kind of maybe on a bit of an arc. I don't know if it was
I don't know
a
the
thing that,
context, so I can't say. He felt like you were
yeah,
misrepresenting him a little bit, though, so he thought that you were basically
he
smearing
thought that
his
I was
reputation.
only, well, see, that's the part of the reason why I don't have that video still up is because the character that I did in that video, it was a documentary, and I usually play a character in a documentary, was not intended to just be him. It was intended to be an amalgamation of several different people, him being one of them, Ben Shapiro being another one of them, and again, a couple of other people I don't exactly remember at this moment. But a lot of people took it as just about Destiny, and that to me kind of represents a failure in the idea itself because it's not being taken in the way that it's intended to be. And like a lot of that video is that, like, whether I'm necessarily delivering information specific to Destiny, I am doing that character in a lot of that video. And a lot of people, whether because they were aware of my conflict with him or not, were taking it that way. And I didn't really like that. So I privated it. And I've since readdressed the topic. And also, you know, I made one, I have my documentary series. It's called Very Important Documentaries. I did it for years on my main channel. And I've taken most of those down because I think that they're either not extensive enough and don't make the point well enough, or problems like that where some kind of aesthetic choice that I made undermined the point that I was making.
Was he one of the inspirations for that character he created?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But the problem is that he wasn't the only one, and
Who
people were
else?
taking it as though he was the only one. Like I said, Ben Shapiro and a couple of other people that I don't currently remember.
So,
Um,
do you feel like you owe him an apology?
no, I don't. I don't think that I do. I don't think that it really damaged his reputation in any way. Again, like again, I don't know that this cheeseballs thing again really necessitates an apology either. I don't think I really harmed him in any way. I think I annoyed him. And, you know, I don't really. He's done things that annoy me, and he doesn't owe me an apology. I think that
Well, he did cover the Shishu story.
that's fine. I mean, that's
Well,
perfectly
I don't think
okay.
he owes you an apology for that. To be clear.
Yeah, and I don't either. It's of note, and I think that it's fine when people cover it. It's not really an issue. I think that there's stuff, again, like I said, there's stuff that Destiny does that annoys me that I don't think he owes me an apology for, because like if it's of note, it's certainly fine to talk about.
Peter,
In this case, go ahead.
no, in this case.
Well, in this case, I would say, like, to me, it was a joke that didn't do what I wanted the joke to do, which was amalgamate, a kind of character that was an impression of several people. And what I learned from that is, don't do that. Don't attempt to amalgamate several people, because whatever comes out most prominently will be the thing that people think it is, and it will just be that in other people's minds. So the reason I brought up my old documentaries versus my new ones is I've changed my approach. All of my new ones, I don't do any specifics with the characters. I do very generalized characters, like somebody in a toga, or somebody in somebody like dressed as somebody who might remind you a little bit of the Unabomber, or I'm failing to remember what, or like the Mad Bomber archetype, that type of thing. Archetypes is the word I'm searching for. I've much more trended towards archetypes, and that was what I learned from that specific thing. You like just impersonating, even if it's several people. If there's one person who it ends up resembling more, that will be the person that people think you're impersonating.
So, Peter, you identify as a Marxist-Leninist. Why do you care about other people supposedly mocking democracy?
Because democracy, well, that's a very complex question. Um, I'll try my best to simplify what I think.
Well, we're gonna get to
I
your
think
full
that
political views later on, but I
sure.
don't typically associate Marxist-Leninism with democracy.
Well, see, that's the interesting thing: is Marxism-Leninism isn't actually anti-democracy at
Well,
all. It
Marxist-Leninism
is,
was coined by Stalin, was it not, as a specific form of Marxism?
yes. I mean, the word Marxism-Leninism was, but really, what I'm talking about is Lenin's work, more or less. It's incorporating Lenin's work to Marx's work,
Why not?
which,
So why use the Marxist-Leninist phrase, which has only been used by dictatorships and by
because
Stalin
it's,
himself? Oh, I'm
well, it's
sorry, I
definition.
jumped ahead. We weren't supposed to get to there yet. I'm
Well,
sorry.
it's definitionally accurate, though. Like, am I just supposed to call myself? What am I supposed to like? I think that Lenin is correct, and I think that Marx is correct. I think that
Do you think that
like,
Lenin
and
was a
I
Democrat?
don't think Stalin was like entirely wrong. I think that he did a lot of wrong things, but I don't think that like. I also think that to take what the Soviet Union was as what I believe is also incorrect. I think a lot of the problem of the Soviet Union was developing a lot of prescriptions ahead of time and attempting to go to it, rather than resolving contradictions as they come, which is actually the core of Marxism.
Well, we can explore communism a little bit here, but I do want to get back to the Destiny stuff and then the Alt 4 conferences of development. But
Sure.
all right. So, what do you think Lenin was a Democrat?
Well, I think I think that's again a complex question. I think Lenin believed
Is it?
in proletarian democracy as opposed to bourgeois democracy. Now, the problem is that what you believe in isn't necessarily what happens. And I think that going through the history of the Soviet Union, there's a lot of things that were done wrong. It's just like going through the history of China. Like the Cultural Revolution sucked. It was stupid. And uh, in more recent years, they have reevaluated that. And the current, sorry, my daughter is. What's up? Here, hold on just a moment. I need to go resolve something. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay, that's fast. Okay,
Yeah, I just had to go tell one of my kids to stop acting
well,
a
let's
certain
talk
way.
about what Lenin did, right? I mean, Lenin did coup the democratically elected government of Russia, the
Mm,
socially democratic government.
that is a drastic simplification, I think, of it.
Well, I mean,
And
that
I
is what
don't.
happened, though, right? Essentially.
Well, I mean, let's say January 6th actually upended the White House and actually took power. That would technically be coupping the democratically elected government, but a lot of people would view that as an improvement. And
Those people
even
would be
that,
wrong. Those people
well,
would be anti-democratic.
mm, I don't know if I agree with that.
I would.
I don't. I don't think that a coup is automatically anti-democratic. I do think that
If
it's
you're
not
cooing a democratic
necessarily.
government, it is.
Mm, I disagree because I think that democracy, as stated, is not necessarily something that is executed on properly, like ever. It's like when people say that's not real communism or that's not real capitalism. You could also say that's not real democracy. With almost any democracy that has reached a mass scale, for the most part, the ideas are not executed on in the way that they're laid out. Now
So
that
do you think that coups against the United States of America would be legitimate in your view?
that really again, that's I don't think automatically so. No. I think
Oh, no, no. Do you think that with our current system of government as it exists right now in the year 2024, that a coup would be
could
justified?
be.
If they,
It could be justified. I'm not saying it would be justified.
what do you think of the
It,
Kronstadt rebellion?
I am unaware of it.
Okay, I only know a little bit. I don't know enough to really dive into deep.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
wouldn't be I wouldn't be able to discuss it at length in a way that I think would be helpful to our conversation.
What was Stalin right about?
Stalin was right when he said here. There's a quote that I can give you. Um, I won't find it actually. He actually talked about how liberal democratic values, if executed on correctly, would be good. He said that specifically. In fact, before Khrushchev took over, another leader said that as well. If I remember, they might have been quoting Stalin, but part of the reason why uh, the USSR existed in the way that it was that it was essentially a siege communism. It was them versus the world, and I think that's first off. I don't subscribe to the idea of saying that's not real communism. I think that argument is silly, just like the that's not real capitalism, that's corporatism argument. I don't agree with that. They're all attempts at various different things, and failures and successes are both valid on either side. I'm not somebody who thinks capitalism is evil, for instance. I think that capitalism represents a marked um, progression from feudalism, and I think that markets have been shown to vastly improve uh, technology over very short periods of time. China also proved that by taking them on, and although their markets are definitely a lot more controlled, they did use markets to expand uh, their technological capabilities very quickly. They expanded a lot of infrastructure very quickly, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not one of these people who is going to tell you like capitalism is evil. I don't care about that. That's not my concern. My concern is that history is essentially the struggle of one class versus another. The struggle that gave us capitalism was the struggle of the bourgeoisie versus the aristocracy slash monarchy slash whatever you want to call it.
So Stalin,
And
why do you care about this quote from Stalin that you think is something he's right about supposedly democracy being okay in some circumstances?
not
When
in
he,
some circumstances.
what was his, what do you think he's right about specifically?
Well, that like the ultimate goal is not siege communism. It's not communism where we have to lock down everything. That's not the goal.
Well, I
There,
mean, you're talking about a man who purged his political opponents, who invaded Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, who worked with Hitler to invade Poland and wanted to join
that's
the Axis powers, right? So why?
nah. I
And he
don't.
also planned his own. Didn't he plan his own little anti-Semitic purge too, right before he
No, he
died, but it
didn't.
didn't happen? The doctor's plot.
Nah, he didn't. That's bullshit.
So why do we care about what he has to say about democracy?
Well, see, here's the thing. You seem to care about it a lot more than I do. I
Well, he
don't
said he
really
was
care a
right
lot
about it. It's
about
the
it.
one thing he thinks he's right about, right? Or well, one of the things at least he thinks he's right
Not the
about.
one thing. But I think that he's right about democracy. That if executed on, would be good. I think that that's true. Do you disagree with that?
No, I'm sure if Hitler said the same thing, I wouldn't disagree with him on that specific claim either.
That's
Let's look at his
kind of the
actions,
point I'm
though.
making here. Well, again, like any actions, you can if you actually have if you drill down things, like as I said, I think that the successes of communism should be noted, and I think that the failures include a lot of deaths. That's 100% true. I agree with that, and I think uh, when you're talking about these issues, also it should be noted that capitalism has caused a lot of deaths. The history of human development is not a clean one; it's messy, and it's just how
But
things are.
I'm not praising a capitalist dictator.
Nor am I.
Well, you are praising Lenin, right?
Lenin was not a dictator.
Okay. So, um, is it useful for Destiny to get involved in these debates? These Twitter spats with like Ludwig and tweet out the picture of the of QTCinderella and stuff like that because he's already a huge famous person at this point. Destiny is.
Yeah,
He's got
no,
a huge
I
public profile. Is trolling on Twitter and like it was in response to Ludwig trolling him, to be fair.
sure.
But
Yeah.
is that something useful to do at this point when you're already as big as he is?
Well, I don't know. It depends on what he considers useful. From my perspective, it's maybe not super useful, but I also, it's not the basis I would critique Destiny on. I think that you're allowed to do, like, if you feel like something's bothering you, you shouldn't be stopped from, responding to it. I don't think that it's useful in the progression of his agenda or ideas. Um, but I may also be wrong about that. Like he certainly has done a much better job getting attention and getting out there than I have. So maybe it's part of that. I in all honesty, like it's something that I feel judging him on too harshly. I don't really think I would believe in that. Would I call it useful based on my own experience? Probably not. But I also, in a lot of ways, probably understand why he would be. So I'm pretty neutral on that, honestly.
Okay. And I don't really care either. I
Sure.
if you're gonna be attacked by somebody on Twitter, responding with your own little meme and mocking them, I think that that's probably fine. I don't care.
I completely agree. I think
Now,
that it's
is it
something.
now if does that make it less likely for you to get into the big rooms though? The Jordan Peterson debate, the Ben Shapiro debate, are they going to look at that and be like, "Oh, well, he was really mean to Ludwig and this woman. I don't. It's bad PR for me." Are they going to think that, or a politician who might want to go on his show? I don't know. But also,
It's possible.
I think that those politicians though should grow a fucking spine and just
That would
do
be
it
my
anyway. That would
response
be
as
the
well. Like
better
that's why
outcome.
that's what I was going to get at. I said it's
Yeah.
possible, but also if a politician can't handle a guy posting a meme because somebody's accusing him of refusing cheese balls, that politician's kind of a spineless weasel.